Hello everybody, Scott Golden here with the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel and the ultimate benefit here of the nature of things, the WCW Saturday Night Review Series. If you're looking for life, business, relationship coaching, would love to be of assistance to you. And if you go over to Golden Opportunities Coaching, which is my main channel, you can find out more information on how to get in touch with me there, and we can set something up. If you're a wrestler or entertainer who needs to refine their approach, then that is one of the many ways I can be of assistance to you. In any event, we are kind of moving towards an interesting thing. This is the night before Halloween Havoc 1992. Ricky Steamboat and Dustin Rhodes, again, are not tag team champions, but they are a team here. Steamboat and Rhodes are eventual friends, and ultimately we see Anderson and Eaton versus Steamboat and Rhodes. Dream match just about anywhere. Worth checking out for a number of reasons. Also, the dissension between Barry Windham and Dustin Rhodes, who are your current tag team champions, having defeated Gordy and Dr. Death Steve Williams. Certainly that dissension something to care about and take note of. Anyway, Eaton is here. Eaton is here and hungry, and he goes right at Dustin Rhodes pretty easily. Michael Hayes acting as the incumbent manager, or I guess third, because tag match on the outside. Rhodes kind of takes Eaton down. Rhodes and Eaton is something I'd never get tired of seeing. Of course, Dustin Rhodes is phenomenal to me. There we see Arn Anderson going right at his adversary there. And hard shots, and certainly a good deal there. Irish whip, back elbow by Rhodes. Rhodes managing to come up and be pretty simply easy with shots, and continues to do so. Rhodes is in a position of an Irish whip, hard shot by Anderson with the short knee. Gets what he wants, but Rhodes comes back with a drop kick right under the chin, so he gets what he wants too. Tag off to Ricky Steamboat, who comes in via the top rope. The top rope rule has been waived except for knee strikes or strikes to the top of the head, as Bill Watson said weeks ago. Roll through, and a hard shot, and a couple of punches and kicks by Dustin Rhodes. Kick to the side of the head by Rhodes as well. Rhodes manages to hit a big shot in the, I guess you'd say the midsection or the side of the head, because he hits both eventually. Arn Anderson comes in, gets on the receiving end of an atomic drop. Haven't seen one of those in a good while. They were common back in the day, not so common here. Needless to say, tag off by Rhodes to Steamboat. Takes him into the ropes, and away we go. Irish whip and a sunset flip attempt by Dustin Rhodes doesn't get all he wants. Bobby Eaton comes in, cuts him off, and tries to get the match going back his way. Match continues into about the end of the first quarter hour of the program here. Eaton tries to break things down, takes Rhodes down, and starts going to town on him. We ultimately get the the swinging neckbreaker by Bobby Eaton. Rhodes catches him and tries for a belly-to-belly suplex. Can't get him. He gets shrugged off. Backbreaker across the knee by Dustin Rhodes for a near fall. Rhodes continues to be in control during the contest. And again, we kind of see things going his way for the next little while. Rhodes does come up with the eventual victory for his team. Obviously, they go into, or he and his adversary go into a hard shot there. The match continues to be a brawl on the outside before the victory, and ultimately they brawl to the back. Michael Hayes says he doesn't like uh, the chances of docking Gordy against anybody, and Rhodes shows up, says he wants to put an end to Hayes once and for all. And there we go. Cactus Jack in pressing upon us that the Barbarian is going to win the World Championship at Halloween Havoc. Um, Tony Atlas, who's never really been one for great promo skills, calls Ron Simmons a nappy-headed idiot or something to the equivalent. He did use the phrase nappy-headed in there. Barbarian comes out next and has a nondescript enhancement match here, night before his World Championship match. Tony Atlas at ringside to support the Barbarian and their weird menagerie of heelish individuals. Anyway, um, Irish whip and a series of clotheslines there. Then we kind of see things continuing to go in a direction that is not particularly friendly. Barbarian goes to the top rope, gets a diving headbutt along the way, and 1, 2, 3 is the way that things go. And that is ultimately what is here in an end game. We then see the music video of Van Hammer. We've seen, I can't remember if this is the same one that's already been out there. I'd assume so. Making more than one seems overkill. But Van Hammer comes out for an enhancement match. Can't understand why he's still here other than the fact he has the contract in the body. Certainly not good in the ring. Enhancement talent match for Van Hammer. His opponent does some posing and some prancing and such. Full Nelson Slam and some other basic things by Van Hammer. Van Hammer then uses the finish most notably used by Tully Blanchard, the slingshot suplex after hitting a lariat and a couple other offensive maneuvers. Win by Van Hammer, as is to be expected. Halloween Havoc, I guess you'd say control center. Everybody's hyped up for Halloween Havoc in less than 24 hours. They are still encouraging people to have watching parties. The team of Shanghai Pierce and Tex Slazenger is making their WCW Saturday Night debut, maybe WCW debut overall. Why Shanghai Pierce manages to wear a mask and Tex Slazenger does not is lost on me. Joey Maggs and Jeff Daniels are their opponents. The two Texans who later in the WWF become hog farmers as the Godwins are power dominant here. Dennis Knight and Mark Canterbury are their legit names. Anyway, and Tex Slazenger, who is, I believe, Canterbury, goes right at them. Good tag teams. They even bring in the bull rope type apparatus to get over the Texas gimmick here. Not exactly your most riveting of television, but suffice to say, there is, in fact, some interesting things there. And ultimately, dropping of the elbow, and again, 1, 2, 3, and there we go. We then see Paul Heyman, then known as Paulie Dangerously, says he has the masked intruder and the contract thereof. He claims that WCW and Bill Watts has been messing him around and his organization, the Dangerous Alliance, around for a long while. He says he's been away traveling internationally and has hired the masked intruder, who, for all I know, could be an enhancement talent, who's wearing a black and white mask on the same week as Halloween. Just interesting. Facing off against Eric Watts. Short knee by the intruder takes over on Watts a little bit. Whoever's under the mask having to lead Watts through what is still some of his first matches. Anyway, back chin lock among other things, and Watts eventually does get back to a vertical base. Drop kicks not his friend here in this match either. Does eventually get a victory, though does Eric Watts, son of Bill Watts, son of the on-air figurehead and executive vice president behind the scenes. Medusa comes out, demands that Paul Lee uh, go to a meeting to avenge the fact that Rick Rude shouldn't have to fight twice in the same night. Rood now scheduled at Halloween Havoc to face both Masahiro Chono in the NWA Championship match and Nikita Koloff in the U.S. title match, which is deemed to be unfair. Rood doesn't seem to like this. Medusa, as his advocate and voice of reason, I guess you'd say, is there. Johnny Gunn is up next, making what I believe is his WCW debut. If not, maybe he'd made it a week or so before. But Johnny Gunn eventually becomes Sal Sincere, aka Tom Brandy, in the WWF. Switches around, and it's interesting because he's in the pay per view 6-man opener the next day. I don't know if that was by design or whether he's filling in for somebody, not really sure. Top wrist locks and basic stuff, headlocks and the like. Nothing to write home about in this particular segment, but again, Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker is the individual who's there. Chokes out, and ultimately, um, that's there, and it is what it is as far as things are concerned. Gut wrench, suplexes, and all of that. Um, Hard shots, and there you see Thez press by the newcomer Gunn. And sit down interview with Nikita Koloff is next. Koloff basically says he goes after the U.S. title because he respects the freedom that the U.S. stands for, and he has learned in great detail about that freedom. He is very satisfied, one would assume, with the benefits of the U.S. title, obviously having won it in '86. And he claims to have come to the country in 1984. I think that was the first time he used the name, or maybe something like that. I don't really know, but anyhow, maybe that was the year he broke into wrestling for all I know. Anyway, Rick Rude is out next. Of course, he is going to defend the U.S. Championship on the following day, which actually gets subbed in by Vader and sold a contract offer. Some really weird character development type stuff, even by WCW standards. Backbreaker on the enhancement talent by Rood. Rood pulls the man up and eventually hits the Rude Awakening. Does the hip swivel and all of the stuff, and basically Koloff comes out mid-match and says, in fact, that everybody had better take things more seriously because his match is first and he's going to take Rude's head off with a sickle, and that's all he needs. Steve Austin out there complaining about the lack of respect that he gets. Basically says he'll go to the ring and prove his value, prove himself. He does exactly that in a singles contest, literally with about 20 minutes left in the program. Steve Austin here in 1992, still an amazing pro. Shane Douglas is his opponent. Amazing that they do that because in less than a few months, Douglas and Steamboat versus Pillman and Austin, probably the best wrestling in the country, maybe definitely in WCW at the time. They grapple for a bit, and Douglas gets into a half crab. How they never considered turning him heel in WCW, that being he being Douglas, I don't quite understand. Douglas hits an arm drag and a couple of drop kicks, gets under the chin of Austin, manages to do everything he can to get things going in his general direction, cinches up on the arm, and again, there are hard shots by Austin, and Austin manages to hit a couple of shots along the way. Not an Irish whip, but a shot into the buckle by Austin, and again, we see hard shots by Douglas. Douglas managing to go into a brawl on the outside of the ring. Austin does some begging off for a couple of minutes. Match is really good, worth going out of your way to see if you've never seen these two go at it before. Obviously, many fans have not been fans for 32 years like me, or maybe even 20 years. or maybe even 10. But for folks that like basic wrestling, for folks that like wrestling that tells a compelling story, this is worth going out of your way to see. Hip toss by Austin, misses the elbow drop along the way. Um, Douglas is always shown to be a few steps quicker. Maybe not the best wrestler, but the better wrestler when it counts. Austin having some difficulties in handling his man, and again, Austin snaps over Douglas in a snap suplex situation. Um, and again, we have some pretty intense situations there. Douglas manages to get a situation together and hard shot knee by Austin to the midsection. And again, uh, pulls out and ultimately goes back to an armbar. Slower match than some would like, certainly by today's standards, but at the same time, telling the story, always going back to a hold and always making sure the babyface looks good. Austin uses every dirty trick he can, foot across the throat and other choking tactics. Referee having to back him up, and Austin not liking to be told what to do. Austin showing, even here, early signs of the flamboyance that would lead him to be Stone Cold. Obviously not in a Stone Cold way, but the flamboyance is there nonetheless. Austin comes with a double axe handle off the second rope, doesn't get all he wants on it, gets enough. And bing, bing, bing. Douglas manages to take Austin down pretty aggressively, assertively. Douglas, who manages to not waste a whole bunch of emotion. Back suplex by Douglas. Brian Pillman, the eventual Hollywood Blondes tag partner of um, Ricky Steamboat, or of Steve Austin, I'm sorry, comes in. We then see the match end in disqualification. One final hype for the Halloween Havoc festivities by Jim Ross, and we close the program. That will close all but the Halloween edition of WCW Saturday Night for October. We will be back with more of this series, maybe tonight, definitely within the next couple of days. But we'll be back with more right after this.